Okay, hi, my name is Ben and/or Bookish Bear. If I split this video into two parts, then welcome to the second part. I am going through all my insane stacks of TBR books that I own that I have not read yet, and I am deciding if I'm going to shelve them, just put them back into my shelves and not worry about them until I decide I want to read them someday. If I want to give them away, which I have not put any in that pile yet. Spoiler alert if you haven't watched part one, and a pile that I want to read as soon as possible, and a pile that are gonna stay in a pile and I will hopefully get to at some point this year. So let's just get to it. Okay, a short pile that I got a while back. This is Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie. I really want to read this book and I just keep putting it off. I'm gonna put it in a pile and hopefully get to it this year because I don't think I'll get to it anytime soon, but I do really want to read this book. The Anatomy of Melancholy by Robert Burton. It's a lot. So this is gonna go on my shelf. It's sort of like a Duck Newburyport situation where I just don't find myself wanting to tackle this anytime soon. So it's gonna go on the shelf. I don't know if it'll even fit on my shelves, honestly, but yeah, I'm gonna shelve it and we will see what happens. This is Nothing But the Night by John Williams. This is super short and I really like John Williams' work. So I'm gonna put it in a pile and hopefully get to it this year. Since it's so short, maybe I can just knock it out. And this is The Echo Maker by Richard Powers. I read Bewilderment. I really want to read the Overstory, and I would rather read that than this. I just got this on a whim because it was very cheap, and I'm going to shelve it. And after I read Overstory, I'll go back to that. I believe this was his first novel, so we'll see. Okay, two piles left. Okay, this one's a weird one. Let's see. Okay, so this is Cain's Jawbone, which is the pages of the book are in an incorrect order. You need to put them in the correct order to solve the murder mystery. And this sounds amazing. I got it for my birthday, I believe. And I just don't have the time for it right now. So I'm going to shelve it. No, I'm not going to shelve it. I'm going to put it somewhere special so that at some point I can get to it. This is Masters of Reality, a 33 and a third book by John Darnielle of the Mountain Goats. This is just a book about the Black Sabbath album, Masters of Reality. I really enjoyed this series of books and I've been wanting to read this one. I'm going to put it in pile to get to this year and hopefully I will actually take the time to read it. A New Name by John Fosse. I read the first two and I loved them. I started this one and then I just sort of got burnt out, and now that I know what it is, I just can't force myself to get back into that headspace to enjoy it, which sounds stupid because I love the first two so much, but I'm just going to do it. So I'm going to put it in an ASAP pile and will hopefully just read this. I just need to sit and just finish it because like I said, I did really love the first two and I want to read more of his work. If you haven't read the Septology yet, just do it. Vigorous book throwing. This is The Pink Line. This is actually one I started. The Pink Line. I don't know why this is in this pile. We're not going to do that. The Morning Star by Carl Nansgaard. I really want to read this book. But again, like, it's just like, why? And it's 666 pages. It is fairly big print. So I think I don't think it'll be a tough read. He wanted it to be 666 pages, so that's why it's so large, I believe, which is fine, but it's just a chunker of a book. But I do want to read it, so it's going to go in the ASAP pile, and hopefully I do read it soonish. Trust by Hernan Diaz. I just talked about this in another video. It's going to go in the ASAP pile, the ASAP Rocky pile. This is My Love is a Beast, Confections by Alexander Cheese. This is the pile that I did in my Pride Read recommendations in June. So just heads up that it's all the same books. But this is My Love is a Beast by Confessions by Alexander Cheves, and this is I Want to Read Liarmouth by John Waters. What are we thinking? Let's do ASAP. What if Liarmouth was on the Booker? What if Liarmouth by John Waters is longlisted for the Booker? Guys. Okay, I'm gonna ASAP that. And yeah. Unreal Sex. This is a short story collection. It's gonna go, it's horror, sci-fi, erotica stuff. So it's gonna go in Santa Pile. Hope to get it to this year and probably read it at some point. Limbic, Peter Scalpello poems. I'm gonna put this in ASAP and hopefully get to it soon because I don't think it'll take a long time to read. Happy Stories Mostly by Norman Erickson Passarubu. I'm gonna shelf it. Because am I gonna get back to these stories this year? Probably not, but I might at some point. Love in the Big City by Sing Young Park. I'm gonna shelf it because I don't think that I'm gonna get to it this year. I wasn't not enjoying it, but I wasn't enjoying it enough to pick it back up right away. So I need to wait long enough that I've forgotten what I've read, if that makes any sense. So I'm shelving it and it's fine. Faggots by Larry Kramer. I'm going to put this on, this is going to go in, hopefully read this year. Between Men by Eve Kosofsky Sedgwick. Okay, I'm going to shelf this. No, I'm going to put this in to read, hopefully this year, but not ASAP. Because maybe I'll just be in the mood for some nonfiction at some point. I don't know. Middlebrow Queer. This is about Christopher Isherwood by Jamie Harker. I'm going to shelve this. I'm just going to put it with my other Isherwood books, and I will get to it when I get to it. The Velvet Rage by Alan Downs. I keep putting the books directly in front of my face, which is fine, but it seems awkward. I'm going to shelve this. My 1980s and Other Essays by Wayne Kostenbaum, with some Blondie on the cover. I'm going to put it, in case I do get in a nonfiction mood, just going to put it in the maybe this year pile. Last pile, guys. Are you just super excited? Because I am. I'm really happy with how many have gone into the just shelve them pile, because I could just feel like I don't need to worry about those books anymore, which is nonsense, but whatever. Okay, so these are probably the most recent books and or books that I got for Christmas. The Arena of the Unwell by Liam Cohnman. I am very excited to read that. So this is going to go in read ASAP, and hopefully I will get to that. I just got The Lords of Salem by Rob Zombie. I'm very interested to read a novel by Rob Zombie. It's also with B.K. Evanson. So he co-wrote it, I guess. I saw the film and I enjoyed it. I know that Rob Zombie's films are very polarizing. I tend to enjoy them more than not, but I am interested to see what a novel will look like. So I'm going to put that in to read, but not ASAP, and get to it, even though it's probably the most recent book I purchased. And read it probably in the fall. This is Diego Garcia by Natasha. There's no way I'm going to say this name right. Natasha Subramanian and Luke Williams. This is co-written by these two people, and it sounds super interesting. It's Fitzcarraldo. I'm going to put this on the ASAP list because I'm going to put it in maybe this year, because there are just a lot of books that I want to read in preparation for Booker long list, and I know that the Booker long list is going to come out, and I'm going to want to read those. So it's just, yeah. Light Perpetual by Francis Spufford. That's fun to say. I'm going to shelve this and get to it when I get to it, because I do want to read. I started it but did not finish it last Booker season, and I just don't think I'm going to get to it anytime soon. So it's just a waste of time to keep it off the shelves. This is Dear Queer Self by Jonathan Alexander. It says it's an experiment in memoir. I am very excited about this as well. So I'm going to put it in ASAP and see what happens. Whisper Down the Lane by Clay McLeod Chapman. This is sort of a horror thriller novel that I'm excited to read. But again, that stuff is best in the fall, I always feel. So I'm going to put it in this year, hopefully get to it and see what happens. Paradise by Fernanda Melchor. I didn't read it during the international booker, but I wanted to. I also want to read Hurricane Season, so I'm torn about which I want to read first. I think I'm going to put it in to be read, hopefully this year, and see if I get to. All right, The Ardent Swarm by Yamin Manai. This has been a book that I've been really excited to read for quite a while, but haven't. So I'm just going to put it in ASAP and hopefully get to it soon. It was translated from the French, I believe. Yes, by Laura Brugnand. And it's about this like hermit beekeeper. It sounds amazing. I started it for one of my TBR tackle prompts and just didn't finish it or really get far into it at all. So it's going to go on ASAP. David Shields, The Very Last Interview. This is a small book. I think I'm just going to put it on my desk and see if I want to read through it while I'm working, because I can do that sometimes. This is Brief Notes on the Art and Manner of Arranging One's Books by George Perec. This is a tiny little book. I should just read it so I can up those numbers for the year, but I'm going to shelve it. This is The Book of Disquiet by Fernando Pessoa. I'm really excited to read this book, but it feels like it's something that needs a lot of attention, and I need to just not be reading anything else when I'm reading it, and something I can really focus on. I'm not in that headspace right now, and I don't know if I will be, but this edition is gorgeous, and I'm going to put it in to be read hopefully this year, and I think it's going to be my winter book that I just kind of chill out with in the winter. This is All of the Marvels by Douglas Wolk, and this is, I think, sort of about how the Marvel comic book as a series are like the longest running, like, continual form of storytelling we have. And it's kind of about that. I do love Marvel comics and comic books and reading about them. So I am excited to read this. I just don't know. I don't think I'm going to get to it before I get to all of the other books that I want to read this year. So I'm going to put it in the pile to hope to get to this year, and maybe on a trip or something I can read it. And then I have the Nick Offerman, Where the Deer and the Antelope Play. I'm a fan of Nick Offerman, but I'm going to shelve this and get to it at some other point, probably. So thank you very much for taking this journey with me. I know I didn't really talk in depth about any of these books, but if you have any questions, you can ask me down in the comments about any of the books I mentioned. I'll put them in the description, even though that seems like a lot of work. I'm excited about parsing this down at least a little bit. So full disclosure, I do have two more piles. One is my TBR tackle pile, which has more books in it than it should, because I sort of abandoned it. Sorry, Kieran. I just fell behind, and then sort of, instead of feeling really bad about falling behind and trying to catch up, just sort of abandoned it because I don't need that kind of guilt in my life. So these books, I will decide. I haven't watched the prompt for July yet. I'll probably watch the prompt and then decide if I'm going to continue that TBR tackle or not, because it's a really great idea that I do think is awesome, but it just doesn't seem likely that I'm going to continue with it. So I'll probably have to put these into the piles as well. But until then, they're going to sit in their own pile. Monsieur Pain by Roberto Bolaño, which will go back to the shelves if I don't continue the TBR tackle. Bestiary by Kaiming Chang. I'm excited to read this, so it'll probably go in ASAP if I don't continue. Notes from the Underground will probably go in the hopefully get to this year, and I'll read it this winter. Me by Elton John. I've been wanting to read forever, so I'll probably just put it in ASAP and try to get to it. Miss Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. I will probably put it in, I'll probably just shelve it, honestly, and get to it when I feel like it, because it feels like a summer book, but there's so much stuff I want to read right now, and it is summer. The Boat Builder, I will probably put in to be read, hopefully read this year, but not ASAP. What Belongs to You by Garth Greenwell. I'll probably just put it in the shelves and get to it at some other point. and Beast by Paul Kingsnorth. I'll probably read it in the winter when I read that other book of his. This other pile kind of required some backstory that I don't want to get totally into, but I'm obsessed with Dracula. I read Dracul, which is a prequel to Dracula, written by one of Stoker's great nephews, I believe. He's related to Stoker. He and another writer used Stoker's notes to base the prequel off, and Dracul is really great. It's really great, and I would suggest it. But I read that, and then I got more into the idea of Stoker. I have his biography, which is in my bedroom because I started reading that. This is The Powers of Darkness. This is the lost version of Dracula. So I'm going to do another video on Dracula and this whole thing. But this is amazing. These are Irish folk tales. Apparently the Irish folk tales that he would have grown up with as a child, which would have influenced him as a person and for Dracula. So I was interested in reading some of those. This is Dracula the Undead, which is a sequel to Dracula, also written by Dacre Stoker and Ian Holt. They wrote Dracul, so I was interested in reading this. And then this is a complete unabridged 5 novels by Bram Stoker. Dracula, The Mystery of the Sea, The Jewel of the Seven Stars, The Lady of the Shroud, and The Lair of the White Worm. I have not read any of his other novels, and I would like to. I don't know why I purchased this. It's like a huge hardcover, which is like my least favorite thing to read, which means I'm less likely to actually read them now, even though I own them. So I don't know what Past Ben was thinking, but I think I got it pretty cheap because it's like a used copy. And that was probably the thinking behind it. But hopefully I can read at least one of these novels this winter and get back to this crazy Dracula stack. So anyways, thank you for watching and going through these books with me. I'm excited that I whittled it down a little bit so I have some small piles to deal with. Instead of having 7 different piles all over my room shaming me for not reading them, they can just go quietly into the shelf and I can feel no shame for some reason. It doesn't make sense. It's fine. Anyways, I hope you are having a good day. I hope you have a donut today, and thanks for watching.